Now, in illustrating personal development, Mr. Schoaf, my teacher, started with money. You know, money is not the only place to start in talking personal development, but it's where he started. So let me share the thoughts he shared with me back then. Let me share them with you. Here's the best lesson I can give you on economics. It's very simple. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. That's about as simple as I can put economics. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace now. It takes time to bring value to the marketplace. However, we do not get paid for time, so we cross that out mistakenly. The man says, I'm making about $20 for an hour. Not true. If that was true, you could just stay home, right? And have them send your money. So that's not true. We don't get paid for time. We get paid for value brought to the marketplace. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of my talk to you today. Is it possible to become twice as valuable to the marketplace and make twice as much money in the same time? Is that possible? The answer is yes. Could you become 3 times as valuable as you might be right now to the marketplace and make 3 times as much money in the same time? And the answer is yes, 5, 10 times. Of course, America is unique. It's a ladder that starts down here, let's say at $5 an hour, and it keeps going up. Top income last year, $80 million. The guy who runs Coca-Cola. Now that's a heck of a ladder. That's why everybody wants to come here, right? The boat people are not headed for Vietnam. People haven't plotted and schemed for 50 years saying, if I could just get to Poland, everything would be okay. Not true. Everybody wants to come to America. And the reason is because we've got the best wind ever blowing in our favor. We've got the best economic opportunity anybody's had in 6,000 years. And all you have to do is understand it and take advantage of it. Now, there's some key questions to ask here. Why would the marketplace pay someone only $5 an hour? Very simple answer. They're not very valuable to the marketplace. Now we must underline to the marketplace. This person might be a very valuable brother. Yes, member of the family. Valuable, yes. Yes. Valuable member of the church, of course. Valuable citizen of the country? Yes. Valuable in the sight of God. No doubt we're all of equal value in the sight of God. But if you're not very valuable to the marketplace, you don't get much money, you say, well, it shouldn't be that way. Well, then you got to start your own country. You know, this one's been in process for 200 years, and this is the best we've been able to come up with so far. But here's the key. You don't have to stay. You know, there was a big debate in Congress last year that this $5 was not enough. Should be 6, should be 6, should be 6, should be 6, but we don't need legislation. 6 is already on this ladder. The next step up, you know, if you work for McDonald's, they'll pay you $5 an hour, take out the trash. If you whistle while you take out the trash, they'll pay you $6 an hour. So we don't need that legislation. You just need to take lessons on how to whistle. You have a good attitude now as you begin to climb this ladder. Why would the marketplace pay some people $50? 0 an hour. Answer. Evidently, they must be more valuable to the marketplace. 10 times more valuable. And is that possible for someone to be 10 times more valuable and earn $50 an hour instead of 5? And the answer is yes. That's what America is all about. Now, why would the marketplace pay some people $500? 0 an hour. Evidently, this person must be much more valuable to the marketplace. That's what's important to understand to the marketplace. And would the marketplace pay one person $80, $1 million for 1 year's work? And the answer is, of course, if you helped a company make $1 billion, would they pay you $80 million? I'm telling you, it is possible. And that's why America is so exciting. That's why this financial ladder is so exciting. It's possible for all of this to come true for all of you, no matter where you start as a student in school. Just getting started out there in the workplace, this is all possible. For you, other ways to become valuable to your family, valuable to your friends, valuable to the community, valuable to the team, right? Valuable to the team effort. Valuable to the concert. But here's what he said to me: in climbing this ladder economically, all you have to do is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I heard that, it made sense to me. I kept hoping that everything else would change around me. Found out that if I went to work on myself, worked on my skills, worked on my language, if I became better than I was. Each year, if I grew in skills and language and vocabulary and competence, then I would become attractive to the marketplace. Not very long ago, a company called me and said, Mr. Rohn, we're expanding internationally. So we'd like to have a bit of your expertise to help us. Would you give us a bit of your time? We'll add some millions to your fortune. And I said, okay. And I thought later, isn't that interesting? He would call me. Then my second thought was, of course, they'd call me. Well, that's what they call, I can get the job done now. What a contrast for me. Farm boy from Idaho, raised in obscurity, parents of modest means, broke. When I was 25, how come I would get a telephone call? Someone offered me a lot of money to help them in expanding around the world. Simple answer. Evidently, something happened to me between age 25 and where I am today, and I can tell you where. It all started from my teacher, Mr. Schoff, who said to me, we don't have to change what's going on out there. That's the wind that's blowing. All we have to do is change what's going on in here, and now there's several ways to do that on personal development, and let me give you those ways. Here's the first one we must learn from. Personal experience, pretty simple. Learn from what happens to you. Take a look back over the last few months. Did you make some mistakes? How could you correct those for the future? Take a look back over the last year. Have you done it right or done it wrong? Let's correct it for the next year. Learn from your personal experience. Mr. Schoff asked me when I first met him, he said, Mr. Rohn, how are you doing? You've been out there now 6 years, and I said, I'm not doing very well. He said, I suggest you not do that anymore. What a simple, swift analysis to my situation. He said, if you keep doing it, the next 6 years will be like the last 6. You don't want that to happen. Let's make the changes. So learn from your personal experience. Now here's number 2, why I came to share this video experience with you today, and that, I'll call it other people's experiences. That's me, other people. That's your teacher, other people. That's your friends and colleagues. Other people, the people you meet that can pass along to you. Their experiences, what's happened to them, the mistakes they made, how they corrected them, how they changed their health and changed their bank account and changed their income and changed their future. That's it. Other people. Now there's 2 kinds of people to learn. From one is failures. Failures don't give seminars, right? That would be valuable. Bring your notebook, have them tell you how they lost it all and threw it all. Away, threw their health away and threw their friendships away and things didn't work out well. That would be valuable. But now then we must also learn from positive people that have done well. They've got the health. And so we ask them, how did you become so healthy? They've got the skills. So we ask them, how did you become this skillful? They got the income. So we ask them, how did you get here in such a short period of time? So now here's what's important in personal development and learning from other people. We learn, number 1, by observation. We learn what we see. We watch people that are successful in what they do. In sports, we watch their disciplines. In business, we watch their disciplines. By observation, what we can see. The reason I created this video is something that you could see someone's experiences translated for you. Second, we learn by what we hear. I've got some of my lectures on cassette tape, so you know you can take them with you wherever you go and learn by listening. Turn your car into a mobile classroom and listen. And then listen to the sermon on Sunday morning. Listen to the lectures, listen to the teacher, listen to someone who's got something good to say, and then number. 3 is vitally important on personal development, and that is read all of the books you can possibly read in your lifetime. Mr. Schoff got me started on my library. I've got one of the better libraries. You haven't read everything in it, but feel smarter just walking in it by library. Reading the books, attending the classes, making sure that I got in front of people that had something good to say. And then I started keeping a journal. One of the major things my teacher taught me was to keep a journal. He said, don't trust your memory. If you hear something good, just make a little note and write it down. Now at first I took, notes on pieces of paper and torn off corners and backs of old envelopes. And it didn't serve me well, thrown in a drawer. Then I learned to keep a journal-bound copy of all my notes. So I would suggest you do the same things that impress you. A poem that impresses you when you attend a class. Some of the ideas that impressed you, jot them down. You read something in a magazine, right? Some ideas. Take those out, put them in your journal. Keep a good journal the rest of your life. This will serve you well. My journals make up a significant portion of my own library, and if you saw my library and saw my journals, I tell you what, You have to say, this is the library and these are the journals of a very serious student. No wonder Mr. Rohn is invited to lecture and speak on his experiences around the world, so I want the same thing to happen to you, value captured that you can resort. So later go back over it and review it and let it become valuable to you. So that's my first subject, personal development. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Develop the skills, learn the lessons, take the classes, absorb all that is being taught to you these days, and then later on, of course, you can sort it out. What's valuable to you and how to refine it for your business and for your life and for your future. But the main thing is to get it and start this process of personal change, personal development. And let me say it one more time. If you will change, everything will change for you. You'll never be the same. You'll keep growing as you look back on a few months, look back on a few years. You won't believe the progress you can make economically, your relationship with your family, your friends, and whether you're in sports or economics or whatever, I'm telling you. That whole process of committing yourself for personal change, personal value, can really make your life unique and worthwhile. Now, setting goals. Let me show you something to turn me every way, but loose I've never been the same since I found out about it, learning how to set goals. Not long after I met Mr. Schoaf, we're having breakfast one morning, Dell said, Mr. Rohn, now that we've gotten acquainted, we know each other fairly well, he said. Maybe one of the best ways I can help you. He said, let me see your current list of goals. Let's go over them and talk about it. And I said, what I don't have a list. He said, well, Mr. Rohn, if you don't have a list of your goals, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100, which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. So that day I became a student of setting goals. And I've used it to dynamically affect my life. I taught it to some of my business colleagues. We use it to do business around the world. Setting goals, it can turn out to be a drama for your life. Here's what goals are: your vision of the future. Your vision of the future. Now there's two ways to face the future. One with apprehension, two with anticipation. Guess how most people face the future with apprehension? A major reason why they don't have it well designed. They've left the design of their future to somebody else. And if you don't make plans of your own, guess what? You'll probably fall into someone else's plans. Guess what someone else may have planned for you? Not much. If all of your negative relatives all turn positive, what will that do for your future? Not much. If prices come down a little, what will that do for your future? Not much. If the economy gets a little better, what will that do for your future? Not much. If circumstances get a little better, what will that do? Not much. If the weather gets a little better over the next few years, that'll do. Not much. I mean, you can go right down this whole scenario list. How most people all their lives, with their fingers crossed, count on this? Not much. That's why 10 years from now, they'll be driving what they don't want to drive. Living where they don't want to live, wearing what they don't want to wear, doing what they don't want to do, having what they don't want to have, maybe become what they didn't want to become. And it all starts by counting on something that's not going to count much. You say, well, then how can my life dramatically change? You got to count on yourself. And here's one of the things you got to count on: your ability to design the future. It's called the promise. And the promise of the future, if you'll design it well, can have an awesome effect on your life. But if you face the future with apprehension, you'll take hesitant steps all day, uncertain steps all day. If you take uncertain steps all day for 6 years, you can imagine how empty your life can be. We've got to help our kids with the promise of the future. Now, here's what's connected to the promise: the price. The price to pay. But I'm telling you, the price is easy if the promise is clear. One of the better notes to make for today: the price is easy if the promise is clear and powerful. But the price seems almost too much to pay. Too much to get over, or too much to accomplish if the promise isn't clear, if the promise isn't powerful. I'm telling you, kids will pay the disciplines if they can see the promise. One of our biggest challenges as parents in the 90s is to help our kids see the promise of the future. That's why I'm teaching financial independence, how to become wealthy and powerful and sophisticated and healthy and unique. All of the stuff kids would hope to go. For it's all possible, this is America. That's the promise of the future, the price. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. And I'm telling you, the kids will pay the price of the simple disciplines if they can. Say the promise of the future, but if they can't see, they don't want to pay. And the same is true of all of us. We will pay the most extraordinary disciplines if we can see the promise of the future called setting goals. So I'm asking you to get a handle on the future. I'm asking you not to leave it to anyone else, not don't leave it to the company. Companies got their own goals. I'm asking you to set your own goals, your personal goals. Income goals and financial goals and health goals and spiritual goals and where do you want to go and what do you want to do and what do you want to see and what do you want to be. That's it. Promise of the future. Design your own future. It's within your hands and your capacity to do so. Here's how simple now goal setting is. It's not mysterious. You don't have to anchor. You don't have to focus. You don't have to visualize. No, here's how simple goal setting is. Change my life. Decide what you want and write it down. I mean, that's how profound this stuff is. Decide what you want and write it down. Make a list. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to see? What do you want to see? What do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to share? What projects would you like to support? What would you like to be known for? What skills would you like to learn? Some extraordinary things you'd like to do. Ordinary things you'd like to do right. Silly little things you'd like to do. Very important. Things you'd like to do. Decide on all that stuff and write it down. Write it down. Write it down. That's how simple this stuff is, and it's your own private list. If it's really private, on your list, put some stuff in code, and nobody can understand it. If this list fell into unfriendly hands and simple things, whatever, fools, things doesn't matter. It's your list. Keep your list. I keep my list in my journal so that I can go back 5 years ago. What's my list? And I'm a little embarrassed. Here's what I thought was so important now, how my philosophy has changed from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years. Here's my old list. Here's my new list. Here's what's valuable to me now. Here's what I want my life to be now. Here's where I want to go, what I want to do, what I want to see. Keep your list of goals so that it shows your growth, shows your ability to change and grow. Your philosophy grows and expands what's valuable, setting goals. It doesn't matter how small, foolish it is. Put it on your list. My Japanese friend, Turo Aikide, put on his first list a Caucasian gardener. Good morning. I thought that was good. I like that. Have you got this? Profound thing now in setting goals. Here's how profound it is. Decide what you want and write it down. Get together with your wife. Decide. Get together with your kids. Decide. Get together with your business colleagues. Decide. Write it down. Make a list. Okay, that's how easy it is. Now let me give you one more scenario on setting goals when I started making my first list. Mr. Shelf, said Mr. Rohn. Looks like we're going to be together for a while, he said. I've got a suggestion for you, he said. I think one of the first goals you ought to set, you're 25-year-old American male. Sure, you've made some mistakes, but now you're on the road to better. Things you got a family worth. Reasons makes the difference. And he said, you've got every reason to do this. He said, why don't you, among all the goals you're going to set, he said, why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? A millionaire. This is America. All the possibilities are available. Why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? He said, it's got a nice ring to it. Million or enough zeros to impress your accountant. Millionaire. And he said, here's why now I thought doesn't need to teach me why. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have $1 million? He said, no, that's not it. Here's why. And I had one of the greatest lessons I ever learned, and I'm about to share it with you. This will be word. The price of being here today, if you can capture what I'm about to share with you, babysitter fees, whatever else. You paid, some of you missed. Some sales today to be here. So this is a costly day for you. But what I'm about to share with you changed my whole life. Here's what Mr. Shelf said, set a goal to become a millionaire. And he said, here's why, for what it will make of you to achieve it. And I got one of the greatest classes in one sentence I've ever received in my life. Set a goal that'll make you stretch that far, for what it will make of you to achieve it. What a brand new reason for setting goals. What an all-encompassing challenge to have a better vision of the future. What for two? See what it will make of you to achieve it. And here's why the greatest value in life, and what you get the greatest. Value in life is what you become. Major question to ask on the job is not what am I getting here. That's not the major question. The major question to ask is what am I becoming here. It's not what you get that makes you valuable. It's what you become. That makes you valuable. So Shelf said set A. Goal to become a millionaire. For what it will make of you to achieve it then. He said when you finally have become a millionaire now, he said, what's important is not the money. So I thought, wow, I've got some more to learn. He said, no, mister, and I'm telling you honestly, you could just give the money away now. I did better than that, right? I told you I lost it all. I'm rich by the time I'm 31. I'm a millionaire. I'm broke by the time I'm 33, so I didn't have to give it all away. I lost it all. Foolish mistakes I made. That I'm a farm boy from Idaho. That early money drove me bonkers. I used to say, how many colors does it come in? I'll buy them all. I went crazy over that. First money, I just went crazy. And then I made that one foolish mistake, right? Continuing guarantee, I'm so naive. Off the farm, I don't know. Look, continuing means, and a few other mistakes. And by the time I'm 33, I'm broke. Now I've made and lost millions since then. But what an experience that was, and I'm telling you, the man was right. When I finally was broke at age 33, guess what I discovered? My money did not mean that much. It represented only a fraction of all my assets. Because once you become a millionaire, Mr. Rohn, you can give all the money away because he says. What's important is not the money. What's important is the person you've become. What? A whole new concept on setting goals. Now there's two parts to this. And then we're wrapping up goals. Here's the first part now on this goal setting for what you become. One, don't set your goals too low. Interesting. We teach in leadership. Hey, you'll find it on the cassettes. Don't join an easy crowd, you won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the demands are high. Go where the pressure's on to perform, to grow, to change, to develop, to read, to study, to develop skills. I belong to a small group. We do business around the world. You cannot believe the expectations at that level, what we expect of each other in terms of excellence, far beyond average. Why? So that we can each grow, so that we can receive from the group. We can contribute to the group something unprecedented. It's called living at the summit and go where the demands are high. Go where the expectations are. Strong so that it'll provoke you, push you. Urgently insist that you not remain the same for the next couple of years, the next 5 years, that you'll grow and change, so don't set your goals too low. The guy says, well, I don't need much. Well, then you don't need to become much now. Here's the last part on setting goals. Don't compromise, don't sell out. There were some things I went for back in those early years that I paid too big a price for. If I'd have known how much it was going to cost me, I never would have paid, but I didn't know. Don't sell out. Ancient phrase says, count the cost, count the cost, count the cost. An ancient story says, Judas got the money. You say, well, that's a success. Story, no. It's true, 30 pieces of silver in those days was a sizable fortune, you say. Well, if a guy's got a fortune, right, that's a success. Story, no, you don't understand. His name was Judas. Doesn't that ring a bell? Judas, you say, oh, yes, Judas. Judas the traitor. That's right, the traitor got the money. Doesn't that change the story? And the answer is, of course, it changes the story. Let me give you my best opinion. I get paid staggering money for my opinion, so please write it down, my opinion. Here's my opinion. Each person's philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. Each person's philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. I'm not to be as emphatic as possible because I truly believe it now up. Until I was 25, that would never have occurred to me that my personal philosophy was the major fact. If you would have known me when I was 25 years old, and you would have said, Jim Rohn, how come you find yourself here? This is pitiful. Living in America, you're broke, you got pennies in your pocket, you got nothing in the bank. Creditors are calling you behind on your big mouth promises to your family. You've been to at least 1 year of college. How come you find yourself in this pitiful position, if you would have asked me that? Question, when I was 25, it never would have occurred to me to blame my philosophy. That would not have occurred to me. I would not have said to you, well, I got this lousy philosophy. What else would you expect? I mean, that would not have occurred to me. You don't jot those little phrases down. Should, could, don't. Here's what we call that formula for disaster. And all you've got to do to start now, the process of life change, is start somewhere, and it doesn't even matter where. You can start with good health, or you can start with something else. The key is to start by saying, I'm going to start the process in each category. Finding by my own research, and that's why. Seminars are so valuable. That's why information is so valuable. That's why somebody willing to take the time to share is so valuable, just to help boil it down in some form to the half a dozen few things that takes care of most of it. And then, let me get on with practicing. It and where you start doesn't matter. The process of life change can start with as simple A. Process is an apple a day, which means I'm on the road to cleaning up neglect. I'm going to walk around the block. I'm going to get the next book of my new library. I'm going to get a journal. She'll taught me to keep a journal, he said. Don't just let ideas get by. You don't. Trust your memory if you're serious about really becoming an entrepreneur, if you're serious about affecting other people's lives, if you're serious about fortune, if you're serious about wealth and health. If you're serious, start collecting ideas, go over them and review them. Then make them a part of your life and practice, and don't ever look back. That formula helped. Changed my life, brought me to where I am today, and I'm so delighted now to have the opportunity to go around the world telling the same story that I heard when I was 25 years old. There's a few basic things, and if you practice them every day, I'm telling you there's no reason why you can't have the health you want, the relationship you want, the fortune you want, the money you want, the income you want, the sophistication you want, the culture you want, the prestige you want, the influence you want. All of it, it's wrapped up I think in a nutshell of what I've just explained to you a few things. Now let me give you one more part of it. Here it is. Once you've found the few things that makes the most difference, now the most of your time working on those few things. Now is another part of the clue. The first part of the clue is to get the information and consistently practice it, but here's the rest of the formula. Spend most of your time on it. The reason why a lot of people don't do that well is because they major and minor things. They spend too much time on things that don't count much, and they spend too little time on things that would count. Here's a guy in the last 10 years who's bought 2,000 donuts and 2 books, and this guy says, my life isn't working well. Well, anybody in this audience could give him a seminar, right? Once we knew these numbers, here's what we might suggest to this guy. Hey, this may be one of your major problems in the last 10 years you've spent. Too much money on donuts and not enough money on books. You spent too much money feeding the body and not enough money gathering food for the mind, and it's not the miracle of your body that works out your future. It's the miracle of your mind that if you nourish the body and neglect to nourish the mind, I'm telling you, you're going to have all kinds of problems and all kinds of difficulties. So we would suggest, one of our suggestions in our seminar to this man would be, in the next 10 years, spend a lot. Less money on donuts and a lot more money on books. Food for thought, bread for the head, we call it. You got to have ideas that feed your mind, not just your body. And the miracle of the mind is so fabulous to work out your future, to give you all the equities you could possibly hope for, to give you every dream and every treasure you could possibly want for you and your family and the people you care most about. It's all available. But it is a very basic, simple process. Once you've found a few things, spend most of your time and money working on those few things. Okay, we call these basics, fundamentals. Another good word, if you're going to play football, you got to learn the fundamentals, and there's about how many? There's about a half to a dozen, right? It'll make you good at it if you practice those half a dozen. A few other things, yes, but the half a dozen are what's important to lay the groundwork. Basics. Fundamentals. Now let's talk about the fundamentals of life. Let me give you this little series, John 1, Fundamentals of Life 1. There's just a few. There's just a few fundamentals of life, about half a dozen fundamentals of life. There's just a few. Here's number 2. Once you know them, you know them. I mean, there's nothing difficult here. It's pretty easy to figure out why people are broke, and it's pretty easy to figure out how people get rich. Just no big deal. Fundamentals of life 1, there's just a few. Number 2, once you know them, you know them. Now here's 3, there's no new ones. Written history is what, about 6,000 years. There's nothing new here. Now, there might be a new way to say it, there might be a new way to apply it to the 20th century, getting ready for century 21, but this stuff is basic, it's old. It's fundamental, so be aware of somebody who comes along and says, we've got new truth. Say, no, you can't have new truth, truth is old, so be a little suspicious. The guy says we're manufacturing antiques. You got to come watch our, wouldn't you be a little suspicious? You say, no, you can't manufacture antiques. Antiques are what old sold antiques are like truth. Truth is old now, just because you've discovered it. There's no sign it's new. Say, no, truth is old. The fundamentals go way back. The fundamentals of sowing and reaping go way back. The fundamentals, good. Evil go way back. I mean, there's nothing new here. All we need to do, though, is to just bring our intellectual discovery process to bear and see if we can't find those few things, then the rest of it is to get. Busy practicing those few things, we might all agree on one philosophy. This is where the value of human life begins to show versus all other life forms. I call it simply a guidance system, settling on certain questions and making decisions about what direction in life you're going to take. Setting goals, making plans. This guidance system, I boiled it down to each one's personal philosophy, a guidance system. And we all needed a guidance system for 2 reasons. For your notes, 1, to avoid the dangers. Somebody's got to give us some clues first on how to avoid the dangers, and 2, to take advantage of the opportunities. To see and understand the opportunities, take advantage, and to avoid the dangers. It's about as simple as I can put it, a guidance system necessary to do that while we listen. 2 ideas, whether they come from me or from someone else. Be a collector of good ideas. Get more serious about altering the course of your life, and you can. Regardless of what happens the next 5 years, getting ready for the turn of the century, you can wind up where you want to be. The money, the joy, the pleasure, the satisfaction. A set of sail. Now, what is philosophy if it's so important? I teach kids how to be rich by 4035 if you're extra bright. Much sooner, if you find a unique opportunity, kids say, hey, that sounds good to me, how do I do it? And I say it starts with your philosophy. So kids ask me, what is philosophy? It's kind of a big word. So I've broken it down for them, made it easier for me to understand. Here's my definition of philosophy. Philosophy comes from 1, the collection of all that you know. Gathering knowledge is the first key too. Developing the philosophical set of sail. And then number 2, deciding which of this information is valuable enough to bet your money and your time. That's about as simple as I can put it to change the set of sail regardless. Law of the wind that blows. First you search for knowledge, then you've got to sort through it and decide which of it is valuable enough to spend money and time. That is one of the best equations I know of. You might know 1,000 things, but you can't do 1,000 things. But you've got to sort through a lot of information and boil it down to the things that really matter to you and utilize that as the most important pieces, deciding what's valuable. So first of it, all we got to gather knowledge. When I have a chance to talk to my high school friends, the first thing I tell them is you got to have the information. Get it while you're here. Don't leave school without it. It's one of my little phrases for my high school friends. What they teach here. What you think of it, that's up to you. What you're going to do with it, it won't be up to you. But right now, this is the important thing, is to get it. You can sort through it. You can cast aside whatever is not going to work for you in the future, but the important thing is to be serious enough to get it. Okay? Teach them. There's nothing worse than being stupid, right? Being broke is bad to being stupid is what's bad, and what's really bad is being broke and stupid. Nothing much worse than that. Unless you're sick, right? Sick, broken, stupid, that's about A. Unless you're ugly, surely that would do it. Ugly, sick, broken, stupid, life's most negative scenario. So one you've got to know, you've got to have the information. Now where do we get ideas and information? We've got this marvelous ability here. Like Noah, the life form on earth has to alter the course of our life. You don't have to keep flying as if south is not getting you the money and the joy and the pleasure. Telling you can alter the course. You're not like just a blind animal that has to be driven by instinct in the genetic code. So if we want to change our life, we've just got to use. this marvelous mechanism to gather more ideas and information and see if it'll pay off for us. So where do we get this? We've got this. Down one from PE, call it. Personal experience. Just make it a point from now on to learn more from your own personal experience. It's probably the best university in the world. For your own personal experience, you've been through enough that could teach you personal experience. A lot of the questions from your personal experience log. The answers from your personal experience, right? Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of health. And here's where it can all start. Paying more attention to your own personal experience. One way to learn to do it right is what? Do it wrong. That's one way to learn. Now the key is, don't let it take too long. If you've done it wrong for 10 years, we suggest that's long enough. We don't suggest 10 more years just to prove a point. Now, you can prove any point in 10 years. In 10 years, your health disciplines will be on track or what, off track. Your financial independence will be on track or off track. Doesn't take that long to come to the conclusion based on your own personal experience. Whether you're on track or off track in a few years, you've either got the breath or you haven't got the breath. You got the money or you haven't got the money. You've got the self-esteem or you haven't got the self-esteem. I mean, it doesn't take much from your personal experience. Shoaff was swift to point out my personal experience, said, let's learn from that. He said, Mr. Owen, you've been working 6 years. I said, yes, sir. He said, how are you doing? I said, not very. What up? He said, I suggest you not do that anymore. What a swift analysis of my current situation. He said, couldn't we find out what happened the last 6 years so that you can alter the course the next 6 years that it never occurred? To me, he said, I'm telling you, we can learn so much from the last 6 that we can make the next 6 years totally different than the last 6. And that's exactly what he did for me. That second 6 years, my life so swiftly changed. It was absolutely incredible. Age 25, I was broke. At age 31, I was rich. And he said, Mr. Rohn, if you'll make these changes starting today, he said, the next 6 years of your life will be totally different than the last 6. I took him up on that. So now let me give you that promise in case you have to leave early. Here's a promise that changed my life. For your notes, he said, if you will change, everything will change. For you, if you will change, everything will change for you.